slice it off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and he missed the complete that. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through, he tags Richard.
Wanna know what's really scary? Halloween is just 2 months away. That's right guys, we're about to enter the dying days of summer, and with it, the dying weeks of the current iRacing season. This is round 8 of 12 of the HPP Simulation Sportscar Challenge, and things are really heating up, as just 4 rounds will remain after tonight's race at Road America. Hi everyone, I'm Samuel Ryman, and with me in the booth tonight is Sean Ambrose, who will be covering the Daytona Prototype and the GT3 classes, and also we have Justin Prince, who will bring us all the action in the GTE class. Behind the scenes is our director, Amjad Yamin. He's doing all the button pushing tonight using camera sets provided, as always, by the one and only Dougie Beard. Justin, as we just mentioned, is nearing crunch time in this championship, but fortunately for the drivers, we come to another popular track this week on the iRacing service.
Yes, this is definitely a very popular track and a very fast track, as we're here in Elkhart Lake today, which has a long auto history. Originally, this track was ran in the early 1950s on county highways, and after the U.S. outlawed that kind of racing, we have been racing here since 1955 on this 4-mile circuit. These 14 turns are expected to have some very quick racing throughout them, and has seen a lot of history throughout those said turns, including the Sports Car Club of America, NASCAR, IndyCar, the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, and it just so happens the first ever IMSA GT Championship, the initial series that kicked off the Sports Car Challenge. For today's 45-minute race, let's go to your GSRC lap guy to explain what to expect.
Alright, we've got Kevin Brown behind the wheel of the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Road America. Coming down the front stretch, turn 1 normally wouldn't be a passing zone with it being a fast right-hander, but the long pit straight means there's plenty of braking to give you a chance to get by. Watch out for drivers who drift wide though. 2 wheels in the grass can send you straight into the barrier to your right. From there we head downhill to 3. This is one of the more crucial corners to get right. The most important thing about it is the exit, because it's another long acceleration zone afterwards. Slow in, fast out was never more true. Now we've got the moraine sweep. These little bends mean you need to be very aware of the drivers around you, lest you drift into your competitor's lane. Coming up though is the left-hander of 5. This is a very popular overtaking spot, but also where many drivers outbrake themselves. Keep half an eye on your mirrors. Then it's uphill to 6. This crest makes it very easy to lock the brakes. It's also really blind. You don't see your turn-in until you're right on top of it. After that, we've got the hurry downs. Just a lift through that fast kink of 7, and we fly downhill to another potential passing zone. Turn 8 will see some guys make an ambitious move here or there. If you catch the guy in front of you sleeping, it's not out of the question to nab a position. Then we fly around the infamous carousel. Impatient drivers will get a terrible launch compared to the ones waiting on a feathered throttle. But if you get a run, you gotta be brave, because too wide through the kink is a crazy game of chicken. It's only a small lift, but go wide and there's mere yards on either side of the track before carbon fiber meets concrete. If an accident unfolds here in traffic, expect multiple drivers to end their day prematurely. From there, we straighten out the kettle bottoms and set up for Canada Corner. This is your last good spot in the lap to execute a pass. If we see a draft battle towards the end, guys will be looking to seal the deal here. Then there's 13A. It's blind, fast, and it requires a lot of commitment to get the most out of it. It immediately dumps you into the last turn, which has a tricky curved braking zone. Once again, your exit speed is so much more important than your entry speed. Especially with this huge uphill and long front stretch, you need every inch of oomph your car has got. But that is a lap around Road America.
Well, talk about scary. Just imagine having a moment in the kink, and it could very well happen in the next 45 minutes. And Sean, we talked enough about the track here. Let's have a look at our drivers. Who's at the top of the championship standings after 7 rounds?
Oh no, not a moment in the kink. Let's look at the prototype standings. Sam Fitzpatrick on top there by just a very small 18 points. Michael Evdoka there, 18 points behind in second. Carlo Lombardi sitting there with just 4 points separating him. Another 6 point back. You got Gabriel Ruse, Luis Paulo Gallen. For as great as he's been in that Daytona prototype, still on the outside looking in fifth, Sam. Now on to the GTE standings, where we see Benjamin Perez there at the top, 146 points. Brian Sutton needs a little bit of help, but he is in shouting distance from Benjamin there, and got a good chance to catch him. Reynaldo Lorena there, 41 points back at third. Miguel Vigo just 5 points out at top three, in sight for sure. Elliott Biddle down in fifth. Now we'll look at the GT3 standings and see him Skinner still there at the top. Dexter Castro has climbed the ladder, finds himself just 3 points back. Dex looks to take him down tonight. We'll see. Yavi Utreres in third, 11 points back. This is a great battle here in the GT3 and those top three. Now fourth, not decided, because Cameron Berry just a point back from Rens Brinkman, and those two serious contenders for tonight's race here at Road America, boys.
Now, even though this is the HPP Simulation Sportscar Challenge, this is being run in a regular official iRacing Series race, so we may see drivers who may not even know this race is being broadcast, along, of course, with the championship contenders who are turning up at 8:45 PM Eastern Time every Friday night to compete in this championship. Subsequently, we have some championship contenders. Luis Paulo Gallen comes to mind in the DPs, who may not be here tonight. Gallen is not. In fact, we only have 7 DP cars, and we have a pretty decent GTE and GT3 fields. How are things looking in GTE there, Justin, in the first few moments of qualifying here?
In the first few moments of qualifying, Elliott Biddle is currently on top of the charts with a 2 minute 1 second time. He has got a 0.2 of a second lead over Jonathan Brault currently. Benjamin Perez is currently in third in those times, about another few tenths behind of Brault at the moment. So a lot of fast times coming along. Most drivers are setting themselves up in the 2:01 to 2:03 range for the ones currently recording times. A few drivers have elected not to qualify just yet and may go to the back, but overall some very good times coming out of those GTEs as they're setting a fairly decent pace. Not as fast as the prototypes though, Sean.
No, the prototype's pretty fast around here. 157 flat has the top spot right now with Clint Shane Smith. Clint working on that second lap now. That was his first lap around. Michael Evdoka really close on his tail there, only 7/10, but Carlo Lombardi just screaming across there with 157.2 to complete his second lap. Tonight, the prototype's dealing with just a 60% fuel tank, probably looking at about 11 to 13 laps somewhere by the time they'll be coming in to fuel up and continue on with this race.
Yeah, Sean mentioned there, even though this race is a timed race to 45 minutes, we can look back at past races from this week and use some maths, try and work out how many laps this race is going to be. It's going to be about 23, 24 laps for the DPs. However, the incredible thing there is the GT3 and the GTE times won't be too far behind, which surprises me a little bit when you compare a prototype car to a GT car and you think Road America has long straights. You'd think a prototypes would lap them a few times, but this circuit is just so large, Justin, that they're really not going to have to deal with traffic that much. And when they do come up, when the DPs do come up to that GT traffic, it shouldn't be too hard to get by with these long straights.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too challenging to get by traffic, as you just mentioned, because of those long straights. There are also a lot of different areas you can make passes along this track that you can get around those said cars. So as long as the drivers strategize well enough to get by those said slower cars in the different classes, they'll be good. You're seeing the GT3s, for example, the fastest time, a 2:06.1 at the moment, currently set up by Yavi Utreres. So that is currently about 2-3 seconds slower than the GTEs for comparison. So you're going to see the DPs having to pass them quickly because that is a 10-second gap on a circuit like this. This is going to be about traffic management.
Yeah, well, there definitely will have to be some of that during the race. See, anyhow, qualifying is already over. Pace car getting gridded up on the front straight. They'll do a full lap around here before we go green, which will take a while. So we'll take our time going through the stories of qualifying here. As we mentioned, all 7 DPs turned a lap during qualifying. Every car was on track during qualifying, but with such a large track, not all of them were able to turn their time, because I guess some of them ran off during both of their laps. Let's get the qualifying grid back up here and talk you through these top 7 DP cars. Clint Smith ahead of Carlo Labate, Michael Evdoka there in 3rd. Sam Fitzpatrick, he was one of those drivers who ran into trouble on these first qualifying laps, so his second one was the only one that counted, and it just got him in the middle of the field. Ahead of a few new names, to my knowledge, at the back of the DP field here. Yuki Nakai, Tim Vesh, and Mike Hesh. Justin?
And in your GTE, starting off the grid for them, Elliott Biddle set a 201.6, followed by Jonathan Breaux with a 201.8 to start off your front row with the GTEs. Benjamin Perez, your current points leader for the HPP Simulation Sportscar Challenges GTE class, starts off 3rd, along with Brian Sutton, who put in a quick time at the last moment in the 202 range. Carlos Vila starts alongside Kevin Huane, while Elliot Huffman will have his first race, and about 30 minutes ago did not know that this was a broadcast race in our discussions with him. Chris McGrath will also start around him with a 204. 2 times did not go through for the GTEs, John Ulmer and Tim Delsile, pardon me.
All right, and starting the top of the GT3 field, it's going to be Yavi Utreras. There on top, Nestoris Kiosaglo, going to start 17th, second in class. Ross Rizzo, going to start 3rd, the Australian driver. I don't think we've seen him before. Andrew DeYoung will start 4th from Pennsylvania. Steve Brown, our old buddy Steve Brown qualifies 5th. From New England, Scott Stevens, Australia. New Zealand there, from one of those provinces, 6th. Dexter Castro qualifies 7th, another New England driver. Marco Duatonic, the Australian driver, 8th. And then we've got Mark Kozach. Mark is with us now. Is it Kozacher? I think I can't see that real good on my screen. All right, there we go. So he'll start 9th, Daniel Manzano 10th, and then Rodrigo Berde, the Brazilian, Manzano and Berde, both Brazilian drivers here at the back of the field, 10th and 11th. This should be exciting. As you said there, there probably won't be catching the field. Traffic won't be an issue here to get this race started, Sam.
No, they'll have a little while before they do get to the back of the GTs, but it will happen eventually. Now, I realised his whole name wasn't on the screen, so let's clarify it here for you. Mark Hensela Kozachenko, I believe is full pronunciation, and his whole name does make our graphic there. There we go.
It is Kozachenko, yeah.
For the rest of the race, so Sean and Justin, I think we should say Mark in a 28 car.
Yes, we were discussing a very, very long name too during practice before tonight's session, which I think our producer Amjad said would go even further off the screen. I don't even remember the exact name. It was so long. It was about 5 or 6 different last names essentially all into one. So that's a little easier. Just saying Mark in the 28 is the point.
Yeah, and of course, it may very well be the case that the driver you were referring to is racing in the 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time split, but could be in the second split. This is an official series race that went split. And the other thing that concerns me a little bit about this being an official series race, usually when we have broadcasts here on the GSRC at Road America, they are league races, and the league admins say at the start of a race, hey, don't pass until turn 3, which is actually the second turn, but we're calling it turn 3. That's not going to be the case here. This was an official series race. I'm pretty sure these drivers can pass wherever they feel like it, and that could make for a very exciting opening couple of corners.
Yeah, Will, there's a lot of different areas you can jump in. I apologize for jumping in on Sean there for this explanation, but you have a lot, like we mentioned, there's a lot of long straights that can lead to a lot of cars going too wide into very tight turns, like coming out of the Moraine sweep, for example, or coming into Canada corner. There's going to be a lot of different action. Sean, what do you want to add to this, my friend?
Well, I was going to say here in the GT3 field, it is a field full of Mercedes. I don't think we have any other, I did not see any other cars but Mercedes in the field, and I'll tell you, I turned quite a few laps of this Mercedes. It is a lot of fun to drive around here, but the closing rate of the Corvettes is, it's pretty crazy. They're going to have their head on a swivel when that traffic finally gets around. It'll take quite a while, but once we get pit stops mixed in, things should get a little crazy out here, guys. These
might
guys
have
are
to
just
have
crawling around here right now.
Yeah, as they come onto the front straight, they might have to have a head on the swivel here. The drivers in the second row get a good jump, but Clint Smith gets a good jump to start the race. He's already pulled out a few car lengths as we go green here. Clint Smith had a really good race 1 week ago at Spa. He's starting on pole tonight. He's looking to do the same again in that number 17 car, but the battle is hot and heavy for the second. Doka could have gone 3 wide there, but thought better of it, and Smith leads the field away. Justin.
And the GTE's got a very early start on the start of this one, starting before the green flag, and the pace car even went down pit lane. As currently they're going into single file. Elliott Biddle had a good start, brought in second currently. Sutton Vila currently rounding out the top 4, while Hoffman trying to hold off Perez for 5th. Sean?
Well, I'll tell you what, they got started all the way back in Canada quarter here in the GT3s, and Yavi Contreras gets off to a great jump. The only change in position so far, Dexter Castro picking up 1 up to 6th. Top 5 still in order. Everybody gone line astern as they make their way out of turn 3 and down the Moraine sweep.
I think it was a clean start for most of the cars. Chris McGrath did lose a few positions running off, but then he rejoined the circuit.
No trouble with the GT3s.
That's Ross Rizzo. He qualified 3rd in the GT3 class, so spoke a little bit too soon here as they come down into turn 5. Steve Brown really aggressive into that turn.
Yeah, Steve gets down there and flew it in there and does get into him, unfortunately.
Yeah, Gillen on board there could have just braked himself. Maybe he was going a bit faster than he thought because he had that powerful slipstream going down that long straight down into turn 5. Meanwhile, our overall leader, Clint Smith, completes the first lap. Remember, it's only going to be about 23 or 24 laps here with just how large this track is.
Boy, Rizzo drops all the way to the back with that, Sam. It's a tough break for him. Fitzy on screen, though, in his Chevrolet Daytona prototype. On the hunt here for Clint Smith.
Yeah, one of those prototypes, meanwhile, Mike Hesh actually could be actually passed by some GTEs already, as he had a similar qualifying time to your pole setter for the GTEs, and Elliott Biddle. As currently Biddle is trying to chase him down, having a good run. You can see Mike Hesh just barely keeping ahead, gaining speed, but losing that time he's getting from the straightaway speed into the corners with his exits at the moment. But fairly clean in the GTEs to start off.
Yeah, and you just mentioned there, Sean, up in the DP, how Sam Fitzpatrick has worked his way up to 4th to 2nd on the opening lap of this race. Now remember, Fitzpatrick ran off, I believe, on his first qualifying lap, so he had to be extra careful in his second lap to make sure he got a time in and didn't have to start at the back of the DP field. As a result, he qualified 4th, and boy, getting wide at the kink there, and he, as you mentioned, is going to try and run down Clint Smith. We'll see if he can do it.
Well, Dexter Castro back here to GT3s is already up 3 spots. He just passed Steve Brown. They were side by side all the way up to Moraine Sweep, but Dexter gets him in turn 5. Scott Stevens following very, very closely there to Steve Brown. Steve in that white and green Mercedes.
I think our good friend Mark in the 28 is in a bit of trouble. He rejoins the track, but he's lost a lot of ground. He was on the grass alongside Rizzo there and gets going again. Hopefully that hasn't done too much damage to his Mercedes.
Mark Kozachenko's car just kind of turned left on him right there. Rizzo gives him a pass, says no problem, but boy, it takes Mark a while to get turned around there, and he's going to have to get around with some pretty good left side damage on that car right now.
Battle for second in DP. Sam Fitzpatrick might even lose that position. Carlo Labate, also one of the strongest drivers in the series, currently third in points entering this race, was challenging for second. It's been a very quiet opening to this race, Justin.
I was just going to say, it has been fairly quiet. Everyone's really just sticked into their positions that they've been slotted in and really going single file, waiting for somebody to make a mistake. You've seen some of the mistakes in the early laps, by example, from Mark in the 28 car. That if it could come to a point as the tires start warming up and wearing down, it could become where if you have a brake bias issue, for example, and you end up hitting the brakes too much, that's going to lead to you making that mistake that your people are looking for at this point. You're seeing the DPs, for example, they're hitting their marks perfectly, really. All of them really faster than the qualifying times.
Oh, Dexter Castro around. Oh, a bit of contact with Steve Brown. Boy, Steve and Daltonic. I think it was Daltonic that goes off also.
You could see that coming, couldn't you, Sean?
Yeah, Steve was fighting it pretty hard there, and he had made a move on him previously, and then Steve gets side by side with him. Steve hits the brakes, the car gets a lot out of shape, and he gets into Castro, and Dexter winds up taking a tow back to the pit after everybody gets by him.
It looks like Mirko Daltonic was actually the driver who took the tow there.
Well, that actually looks like some netcode based on the replay there, possibly.
It was Daltonic that takes the other man, and he was behind that totally. He didn't actually get into it with them. Checking up, he spins it around and it gets in a wall. Heavy damage for Daltonic.
Meanwhile, we got Mike Hetch, the 7th place run-in DP, is off and he's losing positions to the GTEs. That's going to distance him from the rest of his competition.
Yeah, and we're looking at the GTEs right now. Brian Sutton's trying to hold off Benjamin Perez. This is one of the closest battles currently on the track. As you can see, Perez having the faster laps than Sutton at the moment. Just hitting the lines perfectly as they hit that hard brake. And you can see right now Perez has the better exit. It's going to come down to really how they go through these turns. Everyone locked into gear number 3 at the moment, as you're seeing from the lower rear suspension of Sutton. If you hit the throttle too much, trying to hold them off, you'll go into that grass. They clip it a little tiny bit, but keep it going.
Yeah, the kink there is definitely not a place where you want to be clipping the grass. Perez, if it was a final lap, I'm sure he would have attempted something into there. Maybe he's either saving fuel or he's thinking about a move into turn 1. Trouble for Elliot Huffman. We'll get a replay of this.
Now let's see what happened here. This is an Air GTE. This is one of his first races in the GTEs, in fact. He just overruns the corner and just loses it. Quickly saves it, though, immediately just getting the car spinning through the sand trap as we're back live here. As we're back to the position battle for third, as Perez into the first corner, gets a great run down the front stretch, and gets the position.
Another podium position change up in DP where Carlo Labate has made the move on Sam Fitzpatrick to take second away, but he has not been able to break up that train. Look at this, Labate, Fitzpatrick, Avdoka and Nakai all for position there, back to fifth.
Yeah, Nakai looks like the smart one right now. He's letting these guys fight, clear the way for him, and patiently waiting right here. Keep himself close, set himself up for a great pit stop. He could be the victor here in this battle for DP's just slugging it out right now. Avdoka, good pace, but Fitzy up there battling hard, trying to take that spot back, Sam.
Yeah, I think he'll keep him in check just due to the fact of how strong the slipstream is here on the main straightaways. So had some podium position changes in the first couple of classes, but still a bit spread out up front in GT3 right now, with Javi Gutierrez continuing to lead Nestoras Kiosoglu and Andrew de Jong.
Yeah, Kiosoglu is, you know what, he's really trying hard right now, maybe a little bit too hard. He's got the car on the ragged edge. He's had a couple of offs, or not offs, but just, you know, off of the grass. He keeps scuffing speed, Sam. He seems to make a good run at it, and then he scuff off a little bit of speed, and he loses a little bit of ground. So it's a struggle for him right now. And whereas Javi is on point, he's not unbeatable right now. Nestoras can pull this off. He just keep the focus a little bit tighter. I think he'll be in good shape. Andrew de Jong, the Pennsylvania driver, based on high rating, maybe a little bit less experience than those two ahead of him, but Andrew looking really, really good right now. Still under a second behind our leader.
Now, of course, all these cars are Mercedes, much like in Prototype, how all of the cars are Corvettes. But then we have that mixture of Ferraris and Fords in GTE. But the last couple of weeks, Justin, seen several Ferraris out there. I wonder if they tend to favour these tracks with the long straights, such as we saw last week at Spa.
Very likely, because they seem to be getting this much better runs through the straightaways compared to the Fords today. The top 6 or 7 at the moment, in fact, are Ferraris. We do have some Fords in the grouping, as mentioned, like Kevin Hion, for example, who's trying to hold off John Omer, one of the Ferraris, for example. And guess who's one of the leaders right now for the GTEs? A Ferrari, and Elliott Vettel, who keeps on setting the distance right now with that set speed, a 2.8 second lead he has right now, pointing to that distance being set in some of these classes already.
Number 3 Ferrari. I know a German driver who made that work quite well about 15 years ago.
I seem to remember him myself, Sam. He's pretty good.
Well, Vettel's doing pretty good right now up there.
Yeah, he is.
Maybe he had some lucky charms or whatnot, based on the cereal discussions.
Oh, it's back to cereal. You're going to get the chat all out of shape. They were getting in on that as well.
And let's bring this immediately back to the race then, because you're seeing Jonathan Brault is going to have Benjamin Perez to worry about. Perez has been burning rubber, really trying to catch up to Brault. You're seeing the lap times last time by. You can see Perez having the faster time by 0.2 of a second, so the longer this run goes, the more Perez will catch up here, but you also have to factor in traffic when that becomes a playing factor pretty soon.
Take this quick moment to apologize to Jonathan Brault for kicking all those rocks and dirt up on his windshield here in practice before the race there. Sorry, John.
Going back to the food, you see all the Sargento sponsorship here. Of course, Sargento, a big cheese company, where we always talk about the cheese being on the pizza with John Ulmer in AMGSC, where he is a very competitive driver, but sometimes the cheese slides off the pizza. Right now he's keeping it on and keeping the pressure on Juan in front of him.
Hey, Sam, GT3, Manzano.
Oh, and too much pressure for Juan. There he goes, and Ulmer takes the spot.
Oh, boy.
Sean.
Manzano getting by Stevens up the long straight down into turn 1. And still Stevens trying to take it back from him there. Almost side by side here. Heading to turn 3. Manzano on his horse there with his mark. That was a really, really nice pass. The Brazilian driver's done nothing but move up 5 spots since this race started. Got himself in 5th. Good things ahead for him. Steve Brown about 3 seconds up in front of him. But he hasn't disposed of Stevens yet, the Australian. Fighting back to the inside here. Oh, Manzano can't hang on. Stevens gets the better of it. And then just behind him, got Ross Rizzo. This is a big battle here.
It's a big battle for 5th and GTE. The problem is, Sean, if they hold each other up too much, not too far behind them now is our DP leader.
Took them about 7 laps, Sam, to get there. They're reeling in Castro now, actually. Castro just in front of Clint Smith.
Not all smooth sailing for Clint Smith, though. Last lap, he ran 6 tenths of a second slower than Carlo Labate. And you see that interval continues to decrease. Just 1.7 seconds between our leaders now.
I wonder if that has something to do with the damage he has on the front end that we've seen.
Fitzpatrick just looped it from 3rd. Somehow kept it off a wall coming out of a carousel.
Boy, and Sam stops the car, wisely stops it. He gets clear. There it is. Looks like he's just going to lose it. Oh, there it is, a bit of grass up over the curb. That's enough to send that prototype around. Good control by Fitzy, keeping it off the wall. He's going to lose a lot, though.
And this will probably help Labate out even more, because now he's not going to have pressure behind him. That should have ended in a trip to the scrapyard.
Yeah, that's going to send Fitzy all the way back to 5 after that. 5th, 5. You know what I mean.
Justin, were you bringing up a point about tyre wear here, perhaps?
Yeah, perhaps so, because we are getting into about 15 minutes into this run, and it's going to start becoming even more and more of a factor, especially since these drivers are going to hit the hot brakes hard, as something is going on with Tim Vesh in your DPs.
Vesh had it off, and it didn't end well. He hits the inside barrier pretty hard. I don't know if we got the replay on that, but he went for a wild ride, and it ends into the barrier.
Here it is. It's coming out of this little left-handed kink here. Probably doesn't look much like a turn on the broadcast, but trust us, when you're in the car, it is.
Yeah, he's already brought it down pit road as well. His response after that is literally
And another car in the pits with a lot of damage. Scott Stevens, Mercedes.
Yeah, I just caught that. Let's pick that up on the replay, because it really just as simple as Scott run it out a little bit wide here under the Corvette bridge. You're going to see him get off into the marbles on the other side of the curbing, not where you want to be when you try to put the power back down. He does, and for his effort there, gets shot into the concrete and then back across into the tires, and that's an ender for Scott Stevens.
A very clean opening 6 laps. Lap 7, we saw no fewer than 3 major incidents. Meanwhile, the battle for 3rd in DP's heating up a little bit, with Yuki Nakai pressuring Michael Evdoka ahead of him, and Clint Smith, our overall lead, into the pits on lap 9.
Well, Clint playing the early game, maybe just a little bit. Knew he was starting to come up on traffic. Maybe a good time to come in and get that done. The window is definitely open right now, Sam. We have about 27 minutes left.
Think we'll see any GTEs follow in, Justin?
Fairly soon, because we're discussing this with some of our drivers in the GT3 class as well. The window is expected to open, well, you've seen it open really, but for the GTEs, I'm expecting to start opening up around lap 11 or 12 for them on the circuit. And Biddle, with his 4-second lead, is going to eventually have to come in and get fuel. Of course, Jonathan Brault still trying to catch up with this. It's just been a runaway, but this could all change with fuel strategy, because you will lose some time in the pits.
And perfect timing for Clint Smith. I don't know if he planned this, but he comes back out on track right ahead of Biddle. So if his objective to pitting early was to avoid traffic, he's played it perfectly.
Yeah, and it looks like he might have got the damage repaired a little bit too while he was getting the fuel, because that damage that we saw on the left front is now gone. So while he loaded up the fuel, just got the damage to get his speed back after seeing it drop in the past couple laps.
Well, you see how much they use the curbs and the runoff area here. I have a feeling damage is kind of inevitable on these Daytona prototype cars. Hopefully what we see on the front end where they get folded up a little bit by going over these curbs doesn't affect the handling too much.
Sam, Yavi Gutierrez is definitely starting to feel a little bit of pressure from Nestoras Kiosco in the GT3s. They're coming up the long straight now, heading down to turn 1. Gutierrez still in the lead, but Nestoras making it very, very uncomfortable for him. He is about as close as he's been since this race got started. Got it down to about 0.3 of a second. Rides right up on the bumper of him here out of turn 3. Gets a nice run. Another chance for some really good drafting opportunity here as they head under the Sargento Bridge and get ready to go to the top of the hill here and down the hill. A possible passing opportunity coming up. Don't think Nestoras is going to get close enough there. He doesn't, but does keep it close. Got to keep an eye on this battle because, or I will definitely keep an eye on the battle because I really think it could change before the pit stop. I think Nestoras would like to be ahead of him when he goes in. He can get close enough. Can he do anything to pull him around? But we've got a battle for second of the prototypes on screen. Nakai.
Getting very heated.
Doka getting around up the hill.
I think this is Nakai trying to take it from Evdoka, and Evdoka was successfully able to get it back. Oh, Evdoka getting really loose at the bottom of the hurry downs there. Holds on to it though.
This is a
great
very
job.
What Sean said. Because this is getting very heated. This is probably one of the best battles, if not the best battle on the track.
And I almost wouldn't be surprised to see Nakai hit this lap. Now they got the lap car Steve Brown ahead of him. Evdoka was flashing his headlights trying to tell Brown, hey, get out of my way. And Brown will have an opportunity to do that soon, but will it be soon enough for Evdoka?
With the race Steve has had, I'm thinking they may want to get out of Steve's way.
Yeah.
All right.
And Nakai surely enough comes in. I think this is a smart move.
I was just going to say, we saw this last week at Spa a lot where drivers decided, oh, I'm in traffic right now, I may as well come in right now and get out of the said traffic. That's exactly what he's doing there.
It'll be interesting seeing how far behind Smithy comes out. Should imagine he'll be a few seconds back, but we'll keep an eye on it. It's a very long pit road.
Yeah, it starts all the way down there at almost the bottom of the hill, Sam.
Actually, I didn't see Nakai there for a second. He blinked out my screen, but he's reappeared, and now he's finally rolling, but he is going to be quite far back of Smith.
Okay. Now, Carlo Labate closing right now on the GT3 leaders.
And one thing to note, I did mention to expect the window to start opening up for the GTEs around this point. Well, it has opened up for Carlos Vila. He is now in the pits as well, by the way, as Carlos Labate, as you're seeing, has your DP lead. And the Florida
okay, he's going to catch him in a good spot, and I think we'll be okay. It's going to be down here in Canada, get by the kink. Carlo gets by Nestoras. He's going to help break Yavi into Canada. He has to bring it back in, though, keep it on track.
Yeah, it was Kiyosa's opportunity. Now he's close enough now to try and get a run down the front straight.
this could be it. This could be his one opportunity to get a spot on him here before they set up for the pit stop. That should be coming up here in a couple of laps, probably.
Kiyosaglu did not get a good run out of the last turn, it looked like.
Sam. Yeah, you're absolutely right. He didn't get a good run at all. And that's killing him here on the straight.
Labate stayed out despite that traffic ahead of him, but Avdoka and Fitzpatrick come in.
Yeah, I think this is a strategy move, really, because he might be really stretching it here, but Labate's probably trying to say or think in his head, I'm going to just try and stretch this out. There's no other explanation I can think of at the moment. And Smith is coming on by the drivers out of the pits.
Yeah, still sitting in the pits. Man, Smith must have had a quick stop. He's just blasting by all these guys on pit exit. I mean, but then again, all these guys have been having to deal with lap traffic, where Smith hasn't really had any traffic all race long. And Nakai jumps Avdoka as we see Avdoka rejoin the circuit.
And Fitzpatrick came out behind Elliott Biddle, actually, too. So Fitzpatrick, of course, had that incident where he fell to 5th. Still suffering with the time loss, really, and now we'll have to deal with GTE traffic for a few minutes as well.
Yeah, big spin was not kind to Fitzpatrick. And unfortunately, in the 45-minute race, you don't have a whole lot of ways you can make it up.
No, this is an endurance race. It's not the 6-hour variety where you've got time to recover, Sam. You're absolutely right. Every passing second so very, very important. When you're losing seconds on track, or man, heaven forbid you're losing them in the pits, it's nearly impossible. We're under 20 minutes to go in this race now.
Speaking of pits, Carlos Labate's in, Sean.
As is Gutierrez, the GT3 leader. Now, the thing about Labate is Clint Smith, I'm pretty sure, will take a lead from him, but where will Labate come out with regards to that battle we saw on screen between Nakai and Avdoka?
We'll have to keep an eye on that for sure. Yabi Utreras wasn't the only one to come in there in the GT3s. That we were talking about the DPs there, but Andrew Young followed him in. And Andrew, again, he was one of those drivers that had really, really good pace. They're both rolling out of their boxes. Oh, no, actually, DeYoung's still caught in there. Now he's rolling. Ooh, not good. 4 seconds slower. Battle on screen, though. There we go with Avdoka. Nakai.
Yeah, Avdoka and Nakai, this battle was on for 3rd. You saw, that's Nakai on the inside there, you saw how far Labate pulled out ahead. He's actually quite close to Clint Smith for the overall lead, but boy, this battle for 3rd is on. Biddle, Justin.
That was what I was just about to get to, my friend, as he came in following those GT3s. As he comes in from the lead, he is the first of the GTEs to come in. No one else coming around this time by. So Biddle playing the early card to try and make sure he'll try and get out front. Once the pits recycle itself, he is able to come on in front, in fact, of Chris McGrath as he's out of the pits.
And approaching pit road now, although he might not go in, is Nestoras Kiyosaglu. Of course, the thing we want to keep an eye on here is with this clean track, has he been able to set a hot lap? And if he makes a stop, can he come out ahead of Utreras? He may opt to go around this lap to tell you just how strong these two are in this strong split. They're number 1 and 2.
Nestoras is in.
And there's been a pass for the overall lead. We're going to get a replay of it here. Labate pulled it off over in Canada corner. Boy, that's a bit of an aggressive move with still several minutes left to go in this race. But he needed to do it, and he's got the lead. We'll see if Smith can get it back. Actually, let's go back live now, because Smith has got a good run going into turn 1. He's looking on the outside of Labate, but Labate able to outbrake him and hold on to the P1 position. Runs a bit wide on exit, but Smith got a bit of wheel spin on exit, and that keeps Labate ahead. Yeah, anyhow, Kirasoglu, our GT3 lead in the pits, is coming out, Sean.
Right, and here we go. Yavi Utrera screaming up the front stretch, just got across the start finish line. He's coming down to 1. Gonna file right in behind Kirasoglu. What a pit stop by Nestoris. He was a full 2 seconds better than Yavi Utrera was in the pits. I'm sorry, yeah, no, almost a full 2 seconds there. Great pit stop there by Yavi Utrera.
Yeah, and I have a feeling this is why the pits are very busy now, Justin. These guys don't have to pin that much fuel.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's a pit party for the GTEs. Everyone essentially coming in after Biddle went the last time around. As you can see, Benjamin Perez with a great stop. He jumped a few spots in front of Sutton and Brault with his pit stop. Elliott Biddle still, though, has a great advantage from that stop. So Benjamin Perez was gaining traction on Biddle before the pit cycle, and now he has a chance with clean air, 4.8 seconds back, to try and close it back up.
See this battle quite frantic on screen now as they work their way through turn 5. Meanwhile, coming up the front straight is our 2 overall leaders with Labate ahead of Smith. But that's not exactly hot right now. Looks like Labate got a better run out of a final turn this lap around.
And the action is definitely hot on screen. Checking in with the GT3 class here real quick. Everybody has got their pit stops in, Sam. We don't have anybody still straggling around the track trying to still find their way in. It's all been settled. Nestoris Kirasoglu, before the pit stop started, was in fact behind Yavi Utrera. And Nestoris pulls off a very, very good pit stop and finds himself ahead after that cycle. And boy, I'll tell you what, Yavi's going to really, really have to dig. He's got a chance to catch him. It's those two. It's their race. Andrew DeYoung in third right now. He's got a pretty solid. Ross Rizzo chasing Steve Brown, chasing Ross Rizzo there in the top 5.
Boy, the overall lead almost heated up again as Labate overshot turn 5 and Clint Smith thought about making a move in turn 6. However, that's not exactly a hot overtaking spot, so he stayed behind him for now. But one thing that does concern me a little bit, Justin, with so many drivers gaining so much time on pit road, this is not a place where you want to gamble on fuel, considering how big this circuit is.
Yeah, this is a 4-mile circuit. You definitely do not want to run out. In fact, when the NASCAR Xfinity Series, now then at the time the NASCAR Nationwide Series a few years back, when a caution flag came out late in the race, they still had to go the whole way around on the pace lap. Justin Allgaier had been leading at the time. He ran out of fuel and did not win the race because of that in one of the most controversial NASCAR finishes ever for everything else that happened after he ran out of fuel, essentially. So Reed Sorensen went on to win that race, really. That is the example of you don't want to stretch out this fuel show.
You know, Labate is just hanging on up here, Sam. We've been watching this battle on the screen. Clint Smith looks to the outside here, heading down into turn 1. Can he get past him? Is he going to take the nose off? No. No, he lets Labate go.
These two are not saving fuel, Sean.
No fuel being saved here. They are digging in Clint Smith. He's got a plan right now. He's being a little bit patient with him.
Well, Labate, it seems, is really better on the brakes than Smith, but then Labate keeps overcooking the turns every now and then. Boy, don't squeeze Smith there. That would have ended ugly. Smith has a nose ahead, but watch, once again, Labate later on the brakes and is still able to hold the apex.
You think Clint's trying to rattle him just a bit, put a little pressure on him?
Well, it worked last lap. Labate almost overshot turn 5 one lap ago. This time he does a better job of it. The hurry downs and the kink, as long as you hit your marks okay, they're kind of just a resting period where you catch your breath before you hit turn 1 again. Though not much rest going on there with how fast these turns are.
Yeah, you know, that's funny. For as big as this track is, it really doesn't seem, I know you said rest, but it really doesn't seem like you get much time to rest, does it, Sam? I mean, you're really always working the wheel in the cockpit of any of these class cars, to be honest with you.
Exactly, as we might want to do a little rundown of those GTEs right now.
I'm sorry, our overall leader, and there goes Smith.
Dexter Castro.
And no, that was kicked off by Labate getting into Castro, and then that got Castro out of shape, and he hit Smith, and this is going to give Labate the win of the race.
Nothing Dexter could do there.
Smith has had to come into the pits, has damaged his car. It's a shame after he had a really strong showing at Spa last weekend. He's looking set for another one here until that moment right there.
I mean, I guess the argument could be made that Dexter was running his line right there, and Labate, I don't know.
Well, Smith had to try and keep with Labate, but Labate wouldn't have wanted to stay by Dexter because he would have thought that would have been an opportunity for Smith.
Yeah, Smith definitely not happy after that. I wouldn't be happy too. But
I'm sorry to cut you off again, Justin, but we got the lead change in GT3. Travis takes it, but can he keep it? For now, yes.
Keep it? Yeah. For now, yes. For now, exactly. Kiosoglu not gonna go quietly here. We still have about 6 laps to go, Sam.
Yeah, back to you, Justin.
yeah, we haven't given a lot of coverage, unfortunately, compared to what we would like with the GTEs because of Elliott Biddle's big run at this point. Even with Benjamin Perez putting up consistent lap times in second, Biddle has set the pace, still in that 2:02 range, as we see Benjamin Perez is in the 2:03s at the moment in your GTEs. Jonathan Brolt currently in 3rd position for the GTEs. He had been in 2nd before the pit stops. Brian set in 4th. His teammate Carlos Vila is in 5th.
Now, Yavi Utreras had worked really, really hard to take that spot there in the GT3 class. Let's look at it on the replay real quick. Got it queued up. Sorry we didn't catch it live, but here it is on the replay. He still got that spot here from the source chaos clue, but on the replay, you'll see they come across the start-finish line, head down into 1. Yavi, right there, going to make the break to the inside and just outbreak him into 1. Hard on those brakes. You can even see the rotor glowing just a little bit. Back live. It's still, the chase is still on. Nestoris out of Canada followed him very, very closely. Nestoris got to be careful here not to overdrive the car. They'll come across the start-finish line with 5 laps left. And again, I think it really will come down to the last lap for these two if they can just maintain their focus.
Yeah, it looks like Gutierrez will hold on to it for now. We'll keep an eye on this, but we do have Dexter Castro here after a bit of an incident there with Clint Smith in the final turn there.
Yeah, well, Sam, I mean, my incident wasn't with Clint. It was with Carlo yet again. So, you know, somehow he's got like 5,000 I rating and not an ounce of racecraft, it seems. It's the 3rd time this season he's just knocked me straight off the track.
You'd had some trouble early on as well. How was the track racing out there?
I mean, it was fine. I didn't really get, much time racing. I mean, it wasn't really anything Steve did wrong. I mean, we were just not on the same page, not really even the same book. I was still holding on to the, to the want to try to, keep pace and see if I could keep up with the leaders if they started battling. I think Steve just wanted 4th. So, I mean, I kept driving on the assumption he was going to back out of the moves. He kept making the moves. Again, not his fault. Just didn't work out for me. And then I was 15 seconds behind the pack, not really any chance for any positions, and then Carlo happened. So yeah, miserable race.
We've been to two pretty large tracks. Do you think your fortunes will turn around with a twistier track next weekend at Montreal?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly won't help with dealing with dive bombing prototypes. I'm sure twistier means more of that, but I've always in the past felt that more traffic was always a good thing for me, except I guess with certain drivers. So yeah, it'll be fun.
And thanks for coming to talk to us, Dexter. But I'll hand it back to Sean, because this battle for the lead and the win in GT3 is heating up with just a few minutes left to go.
Yeah, it really is. Nestoras Kielcoglu trying to turn up the wick here on Javi Utreras. And something else that happened there was, Andrew DeYoung's quest for a podium finish didn't quite work out. Ross Rizzo uses the pick of a GTE Ferrari to get by him and get into that third spot. So Rizzo now up to the podium spot. Andrew DeYoung is the chaser now. But the battle up front is intense. Javi and Nestor still going at it. They're going to go at it for about 4 more laps here.
I was just going to get to that as well, because Biddle made that pass past Rizzo and DeYoung 3 wide about a lap ago with that. So it is that took Elliott Biddle, while zooming by the GT3s, helped set that up, I guess, with Rizzo at this point, where it could have went a completely different direction 3 wide into the first turn at Road America. Very risky, but Javi Utreras probably wants to play some risk meanwhile, trying to keep this lead.
It looked a little risky there on screen where he got his wheel in the car, so the car wasn't pointing straight for a moment.
Yeah, but Nestoras Kielcoglu, I talked about before, he had to guard himself about overdriving the car, and right now I think he is. He's just pushing too hard and just keeps losing tenths here to Javi Utreras. Now listen, it's still under a second. I mean, he's still in striking distance. If Javi makes one mistake, he is there to pick it up. But the Floridian right now is having quite a drive tonight here at Road America, making it really, really tough for Nestoras to catch him.
Meanwhile, in GTE, Perez losing a bit of time with the GT3 traffic, Justin.
More than a bit, because he just got by Ross Rizzo. He had gotten by quickly by Andrew DeYoung. Then it took a few minutes, really, about a minute really, to get by the next car. Opening the door a little for Jonathan Braun as he's also working his way through, but Benjamin Perez took about 2, 3, 4 corners to get by and had to wait for an exit, as something is going on as Chris McGrath is off track meanwhile.
Yeah, big off there for McGrath. He's rejoined the circuit. Is he missing the front clip? Yes, he is.
Yes, I mentioned that because as I was cycling through, you can hear the smash into the wall from the other side of the circuit, as he just went off track and then zoomed right into the wall, turning directly left. Still lucky to keep going with 3 minutes to go here. Should be about a lap and a half to go, give or take.
Well, actually, Labate is coming out of the last turn now. So Labate is about to cross the line with, let's say, 3 minutes on the clock. A 2-minute lap, that means we've got 2 laps left to go.
Better math than I had. Thank you very much.
Things still the same here over the GT3 guys. It's still Javi Utreras being chased by Nestoras Kielcoglu by about a half a second. That's all that separates him. Nestoras still just hanging there with him. This could be one of those last lap type of deals. He just might be waiting. He knows where he's better than Javi. The only problem is there just aren't many of those spots right now. Javi seems to have this track dialed in.
And the battle for second in prototype hasn't completely died yet. Nakai ahead of Evdoka. It's actually more now when we go... you see the gap there? It was actually a lot closer going through turn 3, but then Evdoka got in the grass, exited in the turn and had a bit of a moment. Kept his car pointing straight though, just cost him a bit of time. And we haven't gave Fitzpatrick a shout out. He'd been having a horrible race last time we'd seen him. But now, with Smith out of the race, he's back up to 4th and closing in on that battle for 2nd.
Yeah, he just needs to keep those tires in the gray and not off in the dirt there. A little loose coming off, but Sam having a good race. I mean, 4th, not going to be a bad day for him. I don't know if 3rd is possible at this point. With the time winding down here, it looks like this time when he gets by, he'll have a white flag.
Yeah, the white flag actually about to come out, as you mentioned, for our race leader Labate, who's going through the final turn with 1 minute left to go. Can't do a lap in 1 minute here, even in the Formula 1 car. Though, might want to ask Gregor Hutu about that.
Well, that's not a name I haven't heard in a long time, but this action is picking up. You can see Nakati trying to catch up, but still 8 seconds back.
Oh boy, a little excitement here. Elliott Biddle coming through, Sam, on the GT3s. The leaders got him. Nestoris is looking at his mirror, and he sees Elliott Biddle back there. Right, he's going to wind up right in the middle of their battle. Let's hope he catches him in a good spot, but not right this second. In the carousel.
Well, Biddle can afford to be patient. You see the gap he's got over Benjamin Perez there.
Yeah, it helps when you're running about a second faster than the rest of the pace, really. So, though right now, Benjamin Perez, though I am being told, is currently in fuel conservation mode at the moment. So, he had went in with the rest of the field, but as we are being told, he is currently possibly short and could lose the position. That could explain how he jumped brought in the pits.
Yeah, I wondered if that could be a concern with several drivers making short stops. Once again, this is definitely a track where you don't have to, where you don't want to run out of fuel. He's about to come to the line and we'll have 1 lap to go. In fact, the race will pretty much be finishing as he's taken the white flag, because as he goes through the final turn here, Labate is making his way through Canada corner. Labate is 8 seconds behind. Boy, even if he ran out of fuel here, he could probably coast it to the finish line. And he is looking for the victory, which will move him up in the points. He won at the season open at Suzuka. He hasn't won since. That losing streak comes to a finish as Labate comes across the line to take a checkered flag.
And right now you can see Elliott Biddle currently in the mix with the GT3s. This is going to be a basically 2 finishes at once, I think, Sean.
Yeah.
So this is going to be pretty chaotic here.
Well,
Jonathan Brault has got by Benjamin Perez, though, as it looks like Perez might be just about out. But look at this battle here with the front, as it's currently coming down to the wire for both the GT3s and the GTEs right now, Sean.
Yeah, Biddle right on the wing here of Javi Gutierrez's Mercedes. It's not a battle for position, but I'll tell you what, Biddle's done a good job to stay out of the battle. Honestly, Kiosa Blue just seems to fall a little flat here on these last few laps. And they're going to wrap this up here, heading through the kink one last time. Biddle going to try and get around. He's not. He's going to lay back, let Javi continue to have control of this. Nestoris, again, just continues to be off pace. Honestly, Nestoris might have been one of those guys who took maybe a little less fuel than he needed. He could be back there trying to save fuel just to make it to the line, because he is really falling off now. Javi Gutierrez one last time, going to come through turn 14, bring Biddle with him.
There you go, your GTE and your GT3 winners cross the line side by side. Javi Gutierrez and Elliott Biddle. And it looks like Perez will make it to the line there, Justin. Or will he?
Yep, but he is sputtering right now. He is out of gas. He is out of gas and losing spots like crazy. Carlos Vila could pass him right here and will pass him. Perez will barely crawl here. And he is going to lose a ton of spots. Running out of fuel coming through Canada corner. On the last lap, he is going to fall and all the way back. Wow.
6th, I believe. We saw John Ulmer went by him and got a top 5, so Perez drops from 2nd to 6th at the end there. Not going to be good for the championship leader in GTE coming in, Sean.
So, it did come down to fuel for some of these guys, huh?
Yes.
Absolutely, and we'll get to talk to a few of these guys when we come back after a short break. Stick around for a full race rundown and drive interviews here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Happy early Halloween and welcome back to Road America, where the speeds were scary fast here at Road America today. Saw some great exciting racing up front all race long in different classes. This was round 8 of the HPP Simulation Sportscar Challenge. Just 4 weeks left now, and you'll see the next race next week at Montreal. Let's do a full race rundown and speak to some of our finishers. Starting with our overall race winner was Carlo Labate by over 9 seconds to Yuki Nakai. I really don't think we talked about this guy as much as we should have, and the job he did today, starting in 5th and finishing in 2nd place, right ahead of Michael Avdoka, who wasn't really able to challenge him after that mistake with 3 laps to go. Sam Fitzpatrick rallied to a 4th place finish after an early spin. There, further down on page 1, you see our 5th place DP was Mike Hesh, and Clint Shane Smith and Tim Vesh ran into trouble early on, rounded out the DP field. Justin.
In your GTE field, Elliott Biddle essentially ran away with it from the drop of the green flag. A 5-second lead over Jonathan Brault, who got some very good luck for the luck of the good luck charms, or the lucky charms, I should say, to get a second place finish. More on that in a second. Brian Sutton came away 3rd in the GTEs as Mike Hesh was the last prototype mixed in that grid. Carlos Vila moved up to 4th spot, and John Elmer 5th, because on the next page, Benjamin Perez, 11th overall in the race, ran out of fuel on the final lap and fell from 2nd to that 6th spot. A few drivers were a lap down to the DP class. Kevin Owain, Elliot Huffman, Tim Delsey, and Chris McGrath. All there. No DNFs, surprisingly, for your GTE class today. Sean has your GT3s.
I do indeed. What a great battle up at the front. Yavi Utreras goes from the pole to the victory there with a big win. Nestoras Kiosoglu, he tried to take it from him. I'll tell you what, he gets an A+ for effort today. He finished 2nd. Ross Rizzo with a great drive and a great overtaking move to get Andrew DeYoung, who has to settle for 4th after having a great drive also. Steve Brown, the proverbial bull in the china shop today. Boy, what a big run for him. 5th place. He'll be happy with that. Great job, Steve. Daniel Manzano, the Brazilian, 6th. Rodrigo Berte finishes 7th. Those 2 Brazilians came all the way from the back to do that. Stayed out of enough trouble to not only finish the race, but take 6th and 7th. Dexter Castro, well, he had his issues today, unfortunately, and he'll have to settle for 8th place. Scott Stevens did not finish this race, unfortunately. The Australian driver there going to take 9th. Mark Kozachenko, unfortunately, 10th for him today. He did not finish the race also. And Mirko Dotonic is going to finish 28th. He was the first driver out today, unfortunately. Only got 2 laps in, guys.
All right, so let's talk to a couple of our drivers today. I would say finishers rounding up front, but unfortunately, that's not the story we can say for our first interviewee. And here we are, Clint Smith. Well, we'd hoped this would be a bit of a happier interview. At the end of the day, you've crossed the line in 6th place.
Yeah, I'm kind of lost for words. Yeah, I come into this race with really with a good feeling, and yeah, I guess I get left pretty much in a bad feeling after this race.
Yeah, because you had a good race at Spa going last week as well. Unfortunately, that did end with a good result. Now, let's say if you were in Carlo Labati's shoes going into that turn with Dexter Castro ahead of you, would have you still backed off knowing that that could have opened the door for Labate to pass you behind?
To be honest with you, I don't actually think Carlos was actually at fault with that one. Yeah, Dexter being in last place in GT3 and being pretty much battling no one, he should have just got out of the way. Obviously, me and Carlos are battling for 1st and 2nd in DP. And yeah, for him to do pretty much try and race us, I mean, fair enough, it's multi-class racing, but when you're that far behind your field coming dead last, your best bet just to get out of the way and let others enjoy their races. Yeah, I have no idea what he was thinking. He blames Carlos in the race, but I'm clearly pointing the blame at Dexter for that one.
What we saw you immediately come into the pits. What was the status on your repairs there?
Yeah, I had 8 minutes worth of repairs on that one, so and they were meatball flag for that one. So that put me out of the race, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame because I think I had the pace to probably take it to Carlos and maybe even take the win. So I know for the start of the race I was conserving tyres, getting ready for the final battle between me and Carlos, and that's why I pitted early as well, because I didn't want to get caught up with the lap traffic. But yeah, it's one of those things, unfortunately.
Now, was that luck, or had you planned that where you came out of the pits right ahead of the GT leader?
Yeah, well, big thanks to Joel Real Timing. Yeah, pretty much I knew that was going to happen. I was looking ahead when I was coming up to the GT3 drivers. I'm pretty sure it was Dexter at the time. Before I made my pit stop, I knew I was getting closer to him, and I was trying to make sure I had enough of a gap between me, Dexter, and Elliot. And yeah, so because obviously Joel Real Timing allows you to see that sort of information where you'll come out the pits and things like that. So yeah, so pretty much I try and plan it so I wouldn't get caught behind lap traffic, and yeah, I came out just in front of Elliot, so had a clear track.
Well, it worked well, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. We wish you better luck at Montreal next week. Do you think you can keep up your strong runs that we've been seeing recently?
Oh, I definitely try. Obviously, the Performance Motorsport guys, they've been helping me out a fair bit lately with some helpful tips and things like that. So, you know, it's really good that you got a team behind you that's able to do that sort of stuff. So, a big thanks to them, and thanks to the team sponsors, MF Race Art, West End Mazda, WP Concreting, almost forgetting all these. Joel Real Timing's my own personal, Joel Real Timing, my own personal sponsor, and MS Flooring as well. So without those sponsors, and obviously Performance Motorsport, obviously pretty much wouldn't be anywhere. So big thanks to everyone that puts in, and hopefully in the future we can get that big W in the end.
Yeah, we wish you the best of luck. We'll see you here next Friday.
No, Brian, thanks, guys.
All right, Sam, we have caught up with Steve Brown. And Steve, I'm going to admit it, you're going to go back and you're going to watch this broadcast. You're probably going to be a little irked at me. I was a little rough on you. I called you the proverbial bull in the china shop. I think bottom line, you weren't taking any flack this evening. You were really fighting for those spots out there. It was quite an adventurous race for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess the first few laps, you guys obviously saw turn 5, lap 1. That wasn't the plan going in there. And I actually looked at the replay. I didn't even miss my braking point. I don't know what happened there. It's just cold tires or what. But yeah, I ended up flying in there a little bit too hot. Made sure to not get into the back end of somebody. And then I realized there was not going to be a gap there for me to just cross over. And we almost made it through, and it looks like just tapped Ross a little bit. And everybody honestly did a great job realizing that I was there, because it could have been a lot worse than it was. And I apologize to Ross. It was completely my fault. And as far as the incident with Dexter, going down into turn 5, he blocked the inside. I went to the outside, and I braked at my normal spot because there's now nobody in front of me. And he came over and basically ran me off the track. So at that point, I ended up in front of him, coming up under the bridge. And I figured we're racing at that point. And if he expected me to back out of that after what went on down into turn 5, then whatever. I was racing at that point.
Yeah, well, we got him on with us. Dexter came in after he'd retired from the race, and he was cool. He said, you guys are racing, having fun, so we move on. But this is a good result for you tonight. 5th, you started 7th. It was a little bit rough and tumble there in the opening laps, but overall a pretty good run. Now tell us a little bit about how the Mercedes feels around this track, at least when you're driving it.
Honestly, it felt like garbage. It was great under braking, as you can see, and but coming out of the corners, even with the traction control, I had it fairly high today, and I was just spinning the tires from apex all the way out. I just couldn't find any grip really, and obviously that must have been where I was losing the time. But yeah, I'm happy with 5th. Disappointed with the pace because see 2 weeks ago now at Lime Rock. Lime Rock's my home track. Being from Connecticut, I've had a ton of laps there. I know how to race it. Going there every year and watching people race it, but it was disappointing to get taken out of the lead there and then honestly be off the pace the last 2 weeks. But this place is still a good result.
Well, Steve, thanks for taking the time chat with us. We will definitely see you next week, and we wish you the best then. just a little bit closer to the podium, buddy. Maybe next week is your shot.
Yeah, we'll see. Thanks, guys.
All right, and our thanks to Steve Brown, Sam, Justin. A lot of fun here at Road America today. Glad this one's over, but always miss this track. This is a fun one. One of the longer road circuits, unless you're going to throw in Green Hell here on the service. But always a lot of fun, especially the multi-class racing that we saw today.
Yeah, and Justin, none of the GTE drivers came to talk to us, but do you have any final thoughts? Looked like a pretty good race from those guys today.
Yeah, even with Elliott Biddle setting the pace as he did, it was still a fairly competitive race in the groupings after that, really from second on, because even with Biddle, as you're seeing with some of these GTs zooming by, it was still close battles throughout. Like, you had Benjamin Perez with not a strong qualifying run as he probably wanted, going through the field, working his way up to second, and then sadly running out of fuel. You had, of course, Jonathan Brault setting the pace for the second grouping, essentially, throughout the race. Then you have the teammates Brian Sutton and Carlos Vila working together and racing well throughout the day. And even in the back parts, you had door slamming between guys like John Elmer and Kevin Huane, battling for 5th and 6th positions. That was the kind of race we've seen today. Even with Biddle setting that kind of pace, it was still fairly competitive. And it got even more competitive as you've seen at the end of the race. But it was a fairly entertaining race overall. Not so much with the GTs, to be honest, because of the Biddle run, but as an overall performance, it was fairly positive.
And hopefully we'll see some more positive racing next Friday night at 8:45 PM Eastern Time, same place, except we're going to be at Montreal here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Before we pack up tonight, we would like to thank HPP Simulation and Mark Hargett for putting on this championship, as well as the IMSA community for putting on a great show tonight. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts. There you see them listed there on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde who provide us with our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Justin, Amjad and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, or Facebook at facebook.com/globalsimracingchannel. Our next race is at Montreal, as we mentioned. It'll be 8:45 PM Eastern Time next Friday here on the GSRC. We also have upcoming races for our other series listed on the screen, so be sure to check those out. Mark them down on your calendar and don't miss another second of exciting racing action. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.